A flood has been declared in the state of Kashmir after incessant rains in the last 48 hours. In Srinagar, the river has crossed the danger mark and people living near the river have been asked to leave their homes and move to safer places. The heavy rains have already inundated many low-lying areas of Srinagar, including BAGH, which was one of the worst hit areas during the floods that the state saw in September last year. And those are shots from various parts of the state, from Pooch, where villagers had to be rescued after flash floods triggered by heavy rainfall. Srinagar obviously also looking fairly waterlogged in many areas, and Kulgaon is also one of those places which has been waterlogged. And while the rain has stopped over the last 3-4 hours, but the pictures look pretty grim, the visuals look pretty grim. And I'm joined by my colleague Zafar Iqbal to give us a sense of what's actually happening on the ground. Zafar, those visuals we're getting for our viewers from across several parts of the state are looking pretty grim, and a reminder of the kind of havoc the state saw in September. We know the rain, of course, has stopped for the last several hours, but what's the situation on the ground at the moment, Zafar?
Well, Kashi, the situation is very critical. I'm here at JEHANGIR CHOWK. This is the situation here. Lots of water logging that's taking place here. They put in some fire engines which are trying to drain out the water. Waters have been drained out from Lal Chowk, but in other places like JEHANGIR CHOWK and places on the peripheries like BEMINA and other places, there's a lot of water logging. Now the government has declared floods in Kashmir. The waters were already above the danger mark at Munshi Bagh and Sangam. Now the water levels are 18 feet at Munshi Bagh and 22 feet at Sangam, which means clearly over the danger mark, and floods have now been declared. They tried to set up relief camps at different places so that people can move to those camps if a need arises, and they also asked the people who are living along the banks of the Jhelum river to move to safer places. People on their own are taking precautionary measures. They are going up onto the top stories of their houses and also moving to places which are on a higher altitude, which are safe. All those precautionary measures are being taken. In the night, there were announcements made through loudspeakers of the mosques where people were trying to tell others to go to safer places. So the situation is very grim at the moment, but the government sources are telling us they will try and save Srinagar city from flooding by causing some embankments, some breach in the embankments of the Jhelum river at some other places so that water can be diverted from those places and Srinagar can be saved. At the moment, there are no breaches on the embankments of the Jhelum river, and no waters of Jhelum have in fact entered the Srinagar city, unlike what happened in the past. Last year, there were multiple breaches on the embankments and water rushed into the Srinagar city, and that's what caused the flood. This time that's not happened so far. Also, what's important is that communication lines are intact. There's no breakdown in communication, and that's helped in the coordinated effort of the government and other agencies. They seem to be more prepared this time around, and people are also taking all those flood warnings more seriously, unlike like the September floods. Kashish.
All right, Zafar, stay with us. We'll come back to you in just a couple of minutes. We're also joined on the phone line by the Director General of the NDRF, the National Disaster Relief Force, Mr. Singh, who joins us on the phone line. Sir, thank you for speaking to NDTV. If you could just begin by giving us a sense of what the situation on the ground is like. What are you hearing from your personnel of how Srinagar is looking 2 days after incessant rainfall in the state?
But there has been, the good part is that there has been no rain for the last couple of hours. There's only a cloudy weather there. But IMD has predicted more rains for another few days. So we are keeping a watch over all these activities, and there is nothing to get panic about it. People are naturally apprehensive because they faced a very severe flood last year. But there is nothing to panic about. And as a matter of precaution, we are pre-positioning 2 teams of NDRF. They are being airlifted from Bhatinda to Srinagar. And from there, the state government may utilize them wherever they want. We have also kept 4 teams of NDRF as a standby. They are being pre-positioned. They're made ready at Ghaziabad and Bhatinda. And they are carrying all these 2 teams which are being airlifted at 9 o'clock. Maybe they would have left by now. and they are carrying all kinds of necessary flood rescue equipment like inflatable rubberized boats. They have the life jackets, diving safes. They have satellite phones also in case the communication breaks down. So we are taking all kinds of precautions. Of course, the point is that the water in Jhelum River is flowing above the warning level. So we are taking all kinds of precautions. That is the update.
All right, Mr. Singh, if you could just clearly and concisely take us through the kind of reinforcements that have been sent to the state right now, and what are the kind of reinforcements that you're also keeping as a backup to be rushed in, given that the IMD has predicted more rainfall over the next few days.
As I said, we are keeping in touch in close coordination with the state government as well as with the Indian Meteorological Department. We are also talking to people from Central Water Commission, and the sense that we have is that the rains could going to continue for another few days, and that is why all precautions need to be taken. And it's because of that we are sending 2 teams, and 4 teams would be ready. And if they require more teams, then we can airlift these teams from various parts of the country. So that is the state of preparedness from our side.
All right, sir, and also just very quickly, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge going ahead? Last time, of course, the floods had severely created a huge amount of havoc in Srinagar, especially in the low-lying areas, which also creates a huge amount of challenge when relief and rescue operations are to be carried out.
The greatest challenge would be to evacuate people. In fact, there are certain localities like Lal Chowk, Jawaharnagar, Rawalpura. They are waterlogged right now. So the state administration must be working on that. The people living in those areas very close to the river Jhelum, they must be getting evacuated. So the greatest challenge will be to evacuate these people. Naturally, they need to be relocated to safer locations. But so far as the NDRF role is concerned, that is confined to the to search and rescue. We need to be associated with the rescue, search, as well as the evacuation. If the state government feels so, we are always ready to help them, and in coordination with the state government, we'll be evacuating people if in case be, or we will be going for rescue these people to safer locations.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. O.P. Singh, for speaking to us. That is the DG of the NDRF talking to us about the kind of reinforcements that they've already sent into the state and the kind of reinforcements they have as a backup. Remember, Srinagar saw the worst ever floods in September last year in a century. And of course, those grim visuals hopefully will not turn into that bad a situation once again. But my colleague Zafar Iqbal still with us in Srinagar. Zafar, we know, of course, you spoke to the flood minister yesterday, but in a sense, how are people responding to the kind of water that's actually come into the city? It must be a very emotionally difficult situation for the residents over there.
Kashish, the entire city, all the people are very, very worried. They're not taking any chances. They're trying their best to take up their belongings onto the upper stories or to move to safer places. Last time they took the warnings very lightly. Srinagar had never seen such floods, but this time they're very much taking all those warnings very seriously and trying their level best to save themselves and their belongings. But what is important is that all eyes are on the administration. What are the lessons that the government and the administration has learned from last year's floods? We saw there was an acute shortage of boats last time around. This time around, it has to be seen, do they have all the boats, in place? Do they have the necessary, equipment, the water pumps to drain out water? All those things, people may need them if a need arises, because water levels are still rising in Jhelum, and the Met has forecast more rains over the next few days. So all those things are very important, but on their own, the people are trying their level best, and also the administration looks a bit more prepared, but it's still early days. As I said, that over the next few days, we're expecting more rains, so the situation could perhaps turn worse, and that's when all those measures of the government will be tested. But I spoke to the flood minister. Interestingly, he said that the flood is these are mostly rumors. There's not much to panic about, and it's the opposition parties like the National Conference and the Congress who are creating rumors and causing and scaring away the people. Kashish?
All right, Zafar reporting from Srinagar, and of course, even just behind Zafar, you can see that the water has completely waterlogged Srinagar and the low-lying areas. Lal CHOWK, the water has been drained out, but in several other parts of Srinagar, the water continues, the efforts continue to drain out the water in those low-lying areas. Of course, the big focus now and the big worry is that the embankments are not breached at any level at all, because that would create a far more serious situation. My colleague Nazir Masoodi sends us this report from one of the embankments in the city.
Well, good news is there's improvement in weather conditions. Sun is coming out and it has not been raining since 3 a.m. While technically, you know, the Jhelum has crossed its danger mark at Brahmunchi Bagh in Srinagar, but here it is well below, several feet below the overflowing point of Jhelum embankments. So people need to be cautious, but there's no need to panic. There's improvement in weather conditions. Most of the people could not sleep through the night, you know, here in Srinagar, given the fact the horrific, you know, floods of 2014, September 2014 are still fresh in the minds of people here. That has devastated, you know, Srinagar city. Thousands of people became homeless. And that's why people were more panicked. They were really worried what will happen, given the fact for last 2-3 days they were heavy raining. But since this morning, this improvement in weather conditions. Hundreds of, more than 200 families have been evacuated from several areas. More than 20 camps have been established in some areas of Srinagar city, while the people who have fled from their homes, who have shifted to safer places, can be accommodated in those places. So we can say right now, at a time when everything was going wrong, there's improvement in weather conditions. Things are improving. There's no increase in water levels for last, 5 hours. In fact, improvement in water logging as well in Srinagar city. We have seen the areas which were waterlogged yesterday, for example, Lal CHOWK. It's not waterlogged because they try to pump out the water from these areas. Administration has been actually working. There is 24/7 monitoring system, and the joint control room has been set up. All the departments have been activated to deal with this kind of situation. But the good news is sun is coming out, while technically flood alert has been sounded and Jhelum has crossed its danger mark, but on the ground it is well below several feet the overflowing point of Jhelum embankments here in Srinagar.